great.
This is so good. Thank you, Rob. I really needed this. Let's get to the first topic. So it has to do with these robotic safety measures that are going down in San Francisco. And so people are getting really up in arms about this. A lot of people online, because they're saying, wait, this is inhumane to see a robot kicking homeless people out of the way in order to, keep their place of establishment looking fine. So this was, I think, in front of a pet facility. But how do we feel about these robots managing the streets?
Well, if it's legal, it's legal.
Okay.
And I think if you're homeless people, you're going to figure out pretty quickly that it's just some robot that's kind of messing with you, and you'll just relocate another 15 feet or whatever you need to be out of the robot's path of whatever it is. So there's other ways that I've seen recently in driving into work on Broadway. A couple of restaurants play extremely loud music in their foyer or entryway, and because it's mostly just businesses, so it's not like it's keeping local residents up. But they put, and I've seen this done in downtown too, loud music, and that does tend to keep some people from sleeping in your doorstep.
Right, and they're saying, they as in the people behind these robotics, well, they're trying to help the community be the best version of itself that it can. Not that there's anything necessarily against someone who's out in the streets trying to live their own and their version of their best life, but the city's homeless, according to, this article here, are associated with higher rates of crime, violence, and sometimes episodes of psychosis, leading to safety issues that many in San Francisco fear, and then it causes people to not want to go to town. And I have one incident where I went recently. I love San Francisco. One of the big reasons why I moved here to NorCal, Sacramento, it's so close. But the last time I went, and it just could have just been one incident, but there was just this gentleman in the middle of the street having an episode, and it was frightening because at any point you don't know what they're carrying, what they're doing, but that's in any big city. It comes with the territory, and I understand that. Go ahead.
But there's compassion, but there's also, it is dangerous. You never know when that episode could turn violent because
that
it
was
has.
The only thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you just don't want to be around it just in case it turns a dark corner, which then keeps people out of the neighborhood, which then keeps people away from businesses. So it's a really difficult
from a business perspective.
Yeah, it's a really difficult issue to have. And so maybe this sort of non-aggressive way of just having a robot kindly say move along or just
how are they doing it? Are they coming with sirens and get out, get out?
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
what does it do?
More
I mean,
to
is it going to run over sleeping homeless people? What does it do?
So what these robots are is they've got a bunch of cameras in there, and so you see all those little holes there.
Okay.
So it's a security device.
Somebody's
it is
monitoring
pitched
it.
as other things. We mentioned this earlier, and I said, oh yeah, I saw that at Golden One, and you can ask it questions, and it's put out there as an information device, kind of a fun thing to have, but it's really a security device because you can have one security guard, but then with this, you've got cameras, you're recording video, you can be in many more places at the same time. So you're going to see lots more of those robots, those security robots everywhere.
Yeah, the future is here.
Sure,
Really.
I think that's great.
I look at this and it is very futuristic. What does it have a personality? Is there someone physically behind it monitoring
I'm
it?
sure somebody's controlling it, unless they have it like your pool sweeper, where it just goes back and forth and back and forth. But somebody, I'm sure, is at some security outfit, and they're looking, and they're like, "Oh, I can see a couple of people breaking in the back door. Let me just call 911." I mean,
but if a homeless person's doing nothing but minding their own business and
Right.
sleeping on the side of the road, which in San Francisco that is allowed.
Well, this may be monitoring a trespassing situation. And when you have, let's just say, for example, you have a couple of homeless people who are in the doorway of a business that's open, that's not good for the business or the owner, and they generally, want that situation taken care of. And I think that, San Francisco has a hard time because it's a compassionate city, it's a liberal city. So they are more welcoming than some other cities might be of people who are down on their luck. But then again, it's a tourist city, and there are a lot of businesses downtown that are being affected by, if you walk around there, it really stinks sometimes, and you know why. And so the people in San Francisco's heads are exploding. Do we want to be the compassionate liberal city? But then again, we have people who are down here, and my business is affected by 50%, and people won't come to my business anymore. And they're like, what do I do? You know, and they're caught in the middle of
And
it.
then
It's
there's
tough.
that dichotomy of the super wealthy in the city, and then you have the super
Yeah.
unwealthy.
Yeah.
So you see those coming together, and it is just an interesting thing to watch.
is.
So these cameras in this specific story was outside of San Francisco, the SPCA, and they rolled out the use of the robot unit dubbed K9. So that's what they call it.
And there's decorations on it. There's like little decals of cats
really?
and stuff on it. So it's they're trying to
Soften it.
Yeah,
Soften
exactly.
Smooth it a little bit.
And so the SPCA came out and said, over the summer, our shelter was broken into twice. The inside was vandalized and property and cash donations were stolen. And that's according to the spokesperson. Furthermore, many staff members and volunteers have filed complaints about damage to cars and harassment they experienced in our parking lot when leaving work after dark. We currently employ security guards, but we have a large campus and they can only be in one area at a time. So when you're dealing with a human being, they can only be in one place, one time. Technology in 2017, so they're trying to do the best they can.
And video is everything because, you know, if you let's say you have a security guard, that's a deterrent. They can stop certain things. They can call in reinforcements. It's a good thing to have if you're feeling unsecure. But video is everything. You got to get it on video because, you know, one minute everything's fine, next minute there's graffiti. I didn't do it. You can't prove it. If you can't prove anything, then nobody did anything. It's a lawyer way of thinking, but that's the society that we live in.
Right.
So a lot of it is to catch it on video. You know, for this Golden One thing, that front entrance that goes along, it's an awesome place. The businesses are coming in. It's a great place to hang out, but it's also a place where you could easily vandalize something. There's planters, there's things going on. In fact, I saw a guy who was walking his dog and the dog jumped right in the planter and went to the bathroom. Dogs don't know the difference between this plot of grass and this one.
Right.
Yeah.
He cleaned up after it, but we were all kind of laughing there. And it's not hard to imagine that a human that has no place to go might go there. They obviously don't want that. So again, it's one of those situations. Hey, did you do something? No, I didn't. Well, it's on video, and then now problem solved because now you have more of a motivation to get that individual out of there.
True, what I'm seeing on our Facebook feed, so thank you everyone for chiming in. Rachel Skokin brings up a good point. She goes, there goes my job. So it's just technology, is it taking over in terms of job security? You know, people who are security guards, so they say, uh-oh, here are the intruders. They're invading our world. Thank you, Angela Brown. Good morning with wishes of health for everyone.
Good, thank you.
Good morning, guys. Tony Schaefer, we appreciate you. Let's see. Someone else had something else interesting to say. Evelyn S. Gallegos, why not come up with solutions instead of blaming the homeless? So solutions to get the homeless off the streets, and I believe those, they try to
Everybody's
get those solutions
looking
every single day.
That's everybody's wish is to, hopefully provide mental assistance, physical assistance, places to live. Sacramento has weighed this issue too. With the more services that you provide, the more people will come from the outside in. So it's almost like if they don't have that, but let's say you opened up a shelter that served 3 meals a day to the homeless, you're going to have homeless coming from everywhere to eat at, and the word will get out. So you're okay. So what? So where are you then? And it's just. You got to do something, and I think every city, Sacramento, Portland, Seattle, all facing. Southern California, like around Disneyland, is a disaster. And it's everywhere. It's not a Sacramento problem.
It's growing too. I just read this article that it's not necessarily even the downtown areas. That's where a lot of people see it just because there's more of a concentration of people. But there's a huge homeless population in the suburbs and all over the country, and not just in the sunny spots. I lived in Billings, Montana, of all places, a cold place, and there was quite a few homeless people in Billings, Montana.
Yeah.
It's just a situation where people, they don't have a place to go.
Yeah.
There's usually an underlying mental illness, often, not all the time.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the case, and it's a very difficult problem to solve because treating mental illness is very time-consuming.
Yep.
It is very expensive. It is very taxing, even for the professionals. And in some cases, it's also a choice by the individual as well.
And you have to want to get off the streets. If you don't want that, then can you ever solve this quote-unquote problem? To them, it's not a problem.
Some don't.
You did a story
Some don't.
on a homeless man.
Some people don't want help.
Exactly. That's their home.
Some people won't go into a shelter because the shelters don't take the
Right.
pet.
Right.
So, they make a decision, well, I'm not going in if I can't take my pet. And I'll just say this in a wide swath here. You have a homeless situation. 1/3 of the homeless could be people who just lost their job and
Right.
they need a place to stay for a while. Then you have another third, which could be drug issues. And then you have another third of mental illness. So you can't just say who a homeless person is.
Right.
And we're going to help them by doing this, because there are so many different needs based on the different personalities of the people who are homeless. So it's such a big problem, and it's just, a lot of people don't want help.
Right.
And then some of them desperately do.
Right.
So
And the one thing too is that when you have an encounter with someone who's homeless, or you see somebody who's homeless, do not assume their life story. Do not assume why they're in the position that they are, because you really don't.
Yeah.
So if you start from a place of compassion at first, you're much more likely to be in a position to at least understand, empathize, and help.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned too, some people are in a situation of their own making,
Yes.
and they're unwilling to make those life choices to make it better for themselves.
And you can't assume
And
that their
that's sometimes the
family
case.
hasn't tried helping. I mean, I have had an
Most
incident in
families
my
do.
family.
Right.
Yeah.
Most families
well,
have-
we
but-
reach
yeah.
out, and
Yeah.
that was said person's way of life, and,
Right.
and we had to understand that.
And
We had to understand that.
so let's just say you have a relative that has a severe mental illness. You want to help them as much as you can, but there comes a breaking point for a lot of families that they
You
just
have to let
can't.
them,
They have to preserve their family, and they have to do what they can, because their problem is too much. And when you bring that into your house, it becomes everybody's. The
Sure.
kids are affected, the parents are affected, the grandparents are affected, and that's the most horrible reality of a lot of the homeless situation, is that they're there because they have nowhere else to go, and their mental issues are insurmountable by themselves, so they need help, and sometimes there isn't any help.
David Wong brings up another point, and this is getting into the artificial intelligence here. He says, robotics is a fascinating field to study, and it's growing as they're learning how best to integrate artificial intelligence. I think these robots use the information their cameras provide them to avoid solid objects that those cameras detect. So you have to ask, those businesses that employ these canines, these faux canines, right, robotic canines, if you will, they're doing it to better their business, and it's a case-by-case situation, I guess. And for them, they had said, it says already the SPCA said it has experienced a drop in crime when using the bot cams.
Plus, it's a
Bot cops.
non-confrontational. It is not a security officer. It's not a police officer.
True.
It's a robot who's likely not armed or doesn't have a baton. So this could be kind of an intermediary way of
Yep.
stepping into a situation that's more, it's less threatening.
It's a
to people.
deterrent.
It
you
is.
know?
I
It's
agree.
like the club on your car. You won't stop someone taking your car if they want it,
Slow
but they're
them
gonna
down.
they're gonna go elsewhere.